A lot of people out there honestly believe that building massive wealth requires decades of this grueling, slow, soul-crushing grind. But what if I told you there's actually a mathematically backed blueprint to go from zero to multi-millions in just a fraction of that time? Well, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're bringing together the frameworks of self-made millionaires and top financial experts to break down a complete four-phase blueprint to wealth. It doesn't matter if you're starting with $100 or absolutely zero. This framework is specifically designed to get your money working for you.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Think of our agenda today as a literal video game level map, guiding us through the entire life cycle of wealth. Level 1 is the first 100K milestone. Level 2, the wealth snowball effect. Level 3, millions with no money. Level 4, the passive income transition. And finally, Level 5, protecting your wealth empire.
To really kick things off right, we need to face a pretty grounded, stark reality. As Charlie Munger, Warren Buffett's legendary right-hand man, famously put it, the first $100,000 is a bitch, but you gotta do it. He basically emphasized that you have to find a way to get your hands on that first 100K by any legal means necessary. Why? Because the absolute hardest, heaviest lifting happens right at the very beginning of your journey. So, let's tackle level 1, the first 100K milestone.
Now, you might be wondering why breaking past that initial $100,000 barrier causes your net worth to just absolutely explode. Well, it comes down to a really cool principle called scaling capital. The rule is super simple. Returns increase proportionally as your capital increases for the exact same amount of time and risk. Let's break the math down clearly because it's fascinating. If you invest $100 and get a 10% return, you make a measly $10. Not exactly life-changing, right? But if you apply that exact same 10% return with the exact same level of risk to $100,000, suddenly you yield $10,000 without a single ounce of extra effort. Your money literally starts doing the heavy lifting for you.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is as we move into level 2, the wealth snowball effect. This brings us to the data-backed reality of what financial educator Humphrey Yang calls the wealth snowball effect. Just watch how the time it takes physically shrinks on screen. If you save $10,000 a year at a 7% return, hitting that first 100K takes a grueling 7.84 years. I mean, that's almost 8 years of strict discipline. But look what happens next. The climb to your second 100K takes just 5.5 years. And by the time you're climbing from 400,000 to 500,000, it takes only 2.5 years. Momentum totally takes over. The vast majority of the friction of wealth accumulation is heavily front-loaded in that very first milestone. So how do we actually get off zero to build that first snowball? You need an immediate trifecta of strategies. First up, play good offense. You've got to hustle to increase your income by developing high-income skills or, starting a side hustle. Second, play extreme defense. Stop the rage spending just to live in the moment and start budgeting meticulously. Every single dollar counts here. Third, maximize your efficiency. Shield your hard-earned cash from taxes using things like 401ks or Roth IRAs. And please make sure your liquid cash is sitting in high-yield savings accounts, earning 4 to 5% instead of just wasting away in some zero-interest checking account. All right, moving on to level 3, millions with no money. Once you've actually built your foundation, the rules of the game completely change. Entrepreneur Alex Hormozi proves you can scale to millions without risking massive amounts of your own cash. And it all starts with a powerful concept called arbitrage. Simply put, arbitrage is when you sell the exact same asset between two different markets because they're priced differently. For instance, if Bitcoin is priced lower in market A, let's say Japan, and that exact same asset is priced higher in market B, like the US, you just buy low in Japan and instantly sell high in the US. You pocket the difference completely risk-free. It's brilliant. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the wealthy scale their income infinitely without needing massive startup capital. Think about it. You can facilitate high-ticket commissions. Selling a $100 million skyscraper at a 3% commission nets you $3 million on a single transaction, and you never even owned the building. You can use real estate options to secure purchase contracts for below-market properties, then flip those contracts to investors for a profit without putting your own money down. Or you can execute business acquisitions. You take over small, retiring businesses and actually pay the owners out of their own future cash flow. You're essentially creating multi-million-dollar assets out of thin air. Which leads us perfectly into level 4, the passive income transition. Look, eventually, active hustling hits a ceiling. That means your active grinding must evolve into passive growth. Early in his career, self-made millionaire Mark Tilbury was installing a staircase for a very wealthy client. He asked the client for the secret to his success,
And the guy just tapped him on the shoulder with this incredible warning. If you can't make money while you sleep, you'll work until you die. If you trade your time for money forever, even if you absolutely love what you do, your passion will inevitably become your prison because you are the bottleneck. You have got to transition to passive income.
To grow your money passively, you naturally turn to the stock market. But I want to build some anticipation here. Check out this massive number, 55%. What in the world do you think this catastrophic figure represents in the world of investing? According to a truly shocking Fidelity study, missing just the 10 best trading days over 4 decades reduces your long-term gains by a staggering 55%. Wow. This drives home an absolutely critical point. You cannot time the market. You just can't. You must start investing early, use dollar cost averaging to consistently buy into broad index funds even when the market is crashing, and literally let the market do the heavy lifting for you over the long term. And finally, we arrive at level 5, protecting your wealth empire. Okay, making money requires taking risks, operating with speed, and having a really strong offense. But keeping money? That demands humility, a healthy dose of fear, and extreme defense. Let me share a quick cautionary tale about a friend of Mark Tilbury's. He was incredibly wealthy, but he heavily leveraged his investments to chase these massive 50% annual returns. When his investment group went under, because he was over-leveraged, he lost everything. I mean, even his mansion. Here is the absolute mathematical terror of risky investments. If you lose 95% of your money, you have to gain 1,900% just to get back to where you started. A hole that deep is nearly impossible to climb out of. So the crucial point is, how do you actually defend your wealth against that kind of devastation? Well, you use a defense mechanism like the 3-fund portfolio. By spreading your investments across a total U.S. stock market fund, a total international stock index fund, and a total bond market fund, you ensure steady, long-term growth. Diversification means you are never completely wiped out by a single bad decision or a localized market crash. You are protected. This brings us to the end of our explainer, and I really want to leave you with a challenge today. As a young man, Mark Tilbury's teacher literally told his class to be realistic and lower their expectations about ever becoming wealthy. So I have to ask, will you let the system lower your expectations, or will you build your blueprint? Ignore the fake gurus, ignore the peers telling you it's impossible, and get out of your comfort zone. Let this motivate you to start building your first 100K today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Now go get to work on that blueprint.